there's a hole in the ceiling. So I first started off by securing the existing ceiling to the roof rafters because the whole thing is sagging a little bit. So 16 inches on center. They weren't exactly, so one of them I missed right over here. Just move them over an inch. And all the way over to the edge, and I screwed them in to show them. I'm gonna have to do drywall mud over the top anyway. Because the whole ceiling is starting to come apart from the rafters, I started back a ways and pulled it up in. I'm gonna tighten each of these screws up some. But these lines, if you can see them on the ceiling, I've just gone ahead and measured straight out from that roof rafter and then 16 inches over to this one, and just used a square to get straight lines. And now I'm going to go ahead, now that I've got this tight, I'm going to use a keyhole saw here and cut away to these points. I'll use a putty knife if I need to, a box opener. Using my box hole cutter, keyhole saw, I'm just going to cut straight across until I get to the roof rafter. When I get there, I'll stop and I'll use my cutting tool, my blade. I'm going to use a lot of pressure. I'm not going to go all the way through. Just cutting on a line that I drew. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once you've got it scored, snap it out of there, like so, and then just trim off the rest. I should have scored in a little bit deeper because I left all of the drywall up there, but went in and scored it again. So I went through the drywall this time. I'm going to get them off that. There we go. Now it's coming free. So this has this terrible dippity dip cover on it. I don't like those things. So that's what I'm going to do with those. When I'm cutting something strong, I'll use a drill hole to get the keyhole started. But I just stabbed it with the box cutter. Now I've noticed that this thing is still kind of loose. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those in a little bit more so that I don't pull the whole ceiling down while I'm sawing it. And then I'll cut across to here, and I'll use my blade, cut to there. Cut away most of it. I'll go ahead and trim the little bits and pieces away that I didn't have. There are some old nails in there. Just gonna have to get those and pull those out. Those two right there. This one I'm just gonna pop back up in. The existing insulation I shoved back up in there. However, you see there's a bunch missing. I'm gonna go up in this attic and check the whole thing out, and I'll put some insulation in there. You can see this house has a new roof on it by those new boards there. Okay, so I trimmed this up. I went ahead and stuck in another row of screws over there because I don't want this thing sagging back down. Over here, I had to move these screws over because they really were at the edge of the board, and I couldn't see that until I took it out. So I went ahead and used my blade to cut here. I'm going to put my 5-in-1 tool here. It's got a sharp edge, and just tap the bottom of it to get all the way through. Green board. See, this green board resists moisture better than the standard drywall does. The depth of this is going to equal the depth of that drywall plus the cover on it. Now, the space I've got here is 2 rafters, so it should be 32 inches, and it is just about that. I'm going to cut it just shy of 32 inches, plus I'm going to leave a little bit of a dingleberry on the end here. So I'm just going to mark them off at 32 from that end. There we go. And always measure twice, cut once. This piece of scrap and winds up that it was not square. So if I just cut, I would have had the wrong angle. I was going to cut this, it's about an 1/8 of an inch shy of 32 inches just so I had room to fit it in there. I'm going to cut it the full 32 because I can always whittle some off. I can't put stuff back on. Just clamp down my straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and score the edge. You do not need to cut all the way through drywall. Score the edge if you have a sharp blade, because you're smart, unlike me. You really should only go a couple passes and then you just snap them off. If you need to finish your cut on the front, you can, but really just flip it over to the back and take your blade and finish the job on the back side by cutting through the cardboard section. I went ahead and held it right up against the section so I could mark the measurement coming out, and I did forget to leave in my little section there, but it's probably better to do it this way anyway. Alright, these were about equal, so I just marked an X on the part that's scrap. Put a fresh blade in there, so it's going to cut a lot nicer this time. Again, I just zip right on down there, and I've got my body on the right side too, so now I'm going to cut myself. It's amazing, do things the right way. It works so much better. To fit it in, I hold the piece up into place and just see where I need to trim it a little bit. Now, I failed to bring my rasp over. A rasp is a nice tool, just run along the side and it'll take a millimeter or two off of there nicely. I'm just going to have to use my keyhole saw and my box cutter to do it. And I think I do most of my trimming on that rather than on this. It's got nice square angles now. Alright, so yeah, I trimmed him, just shaved a little bit off. And pushed them up in there. Rather than drop them, I went ahead and put a couple screws in without showing you. Just make sure you know where your rafters are. I'm going to put 3 in here, 3 there, and then we'll start the taping process after I tighten up these other screws. Alright, so the patch is in. The rest of it's all going to just be cosmetic at this point. So make sure I have all these screws up in here tight. The one in the very corner there, I don't think I took the nail out from under it, so I kind of broke the corner putting it in, so I put the extra screw. So I'm going to take my drywall tape here, lather up where I've got the creases with some very simple drywall mud, and then I'll let that paper tape in it and let it dry. With the screws that are away from my patch, because this is already a textured ceiling, I'm just going to take drywall mud and leave it textured over the top of it, and that's a real easy way to cover up these screws. To cover up the screw, just take a little bit of putty on your knife, put it on there, and then spread it. Then just kind of tap it, play with it, until you kind of get the same texture as the ceiling. And then, when it dries, you don't have to do anything to it other than paint it. Just play with it a little bit until it gets to the texture you want it. You don't want it to be too flat, or otherwise it'll show up. Okay, so I've just done my first cover up of screws and the seams. Now I'm going to put my drywall tape in. You can buy corner bead to do the corners, which is a nice stiff angle. You don't really need it here. So I just press it up and make sure it's got mud all behind him. I folded him before I put him up there, and then I'm just going to take either scissors or your blade and just chop them off there, and then I'm going to seam up the rest of these, press them down in with my putty knife, and then I'll cover them up with a little more mud. Cut my piece to length, I set it down in there. Make sure I've got drywall mud underneath the whole thing. Make sure he's on the seam, and then put him up in there, and then you can go over him, make sure he's seated in there. Getting perfect now is definitely not the thing to do because you gotta go back over this anyway. The idea is just cover up that whole seam. Alright, I've gone around it once, and I don't usually deal with this textured stuff. I think because it is, I'm just going to go ahead and drywall over the whole thing and texture it right now and see how it looks. Alright, I'm sure they sell a gizmo that can give you the patterns. I've used a rag before by just dipping the rag in it. Today I'm just going to see what I can do just by dapping them with this. My wall does need to be neater, so I'm pressing down on this end a little bit more just going across one smooth motion. You can see where I did not go smooth right there. So a little bit. It's easier. I used my 8-inch putty knife to pull some of this away, and then I've started dabbing with my towel. And I think I like this effect better. I'm going to work at it a little bit to get these plucks tall enough, but they look pretty nice. I think the effect came out really nice. I don't know if you can even tell with the camera. I am going to go back over some of the spots I did with the putty knife before, and then right in against the wall. Of course, I smoothed it before I did that, so I'm going to have to go smooth it again. Cleanup would have gone easier if I had thrown a drop cloth down, but I'm just going to broom it up, vacuum it up, wipe down the surface areas. Putty knives, this is completely water soluble, so you just run water on it, wipe it, but I also like to just, as I'm running water, scrape it. And make sure you've put all your tools away correctly, and everything else is cleaned up. And when you're finished, be sure to leave the area cleaner than it was when you started, or no one will like you. The end.